Hey, welcome to the Faith Film Fan Podcast. Today I have got Jae and Andrew Huff with us, and we're talking about a new film called CONNER, Web Detective. Webtective, not
You got
Web
it.
Detective. There's no D in it. It's Webtective.
No,
No.
that's right.
Jay and Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for
Thanks.
having us on.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
glad to be here. I like that you put my name first.
That's right.
That
Well,
doesn't happen often. I usually was like Andrew and Jae Huff, so you're
oh,
mixing it
there,
up.
there it
It's
is. All
fun.
right. Yeah. So, talk to me about Dodd Connor, how it goes from a YouTube series to now a theatrical in theaters theatrical. Tell me a little bit about what Dodd Connor is, and then how about the journey.
Yeah. So, Connor started out for me as kind of a character I created when I worked at a church and needed kind of a fun video to do for the children's ministry. And so this was early, sort of several years ago, where YouTube was starting to get really big with vloggers and stuff like that. And so I just kind of took that as inspiration to create this character who would sort of investigate questions she had about the Christian faith using detective techniques, but then set it as kind of it's a young teenage girl, so she vlogs about it, and so set it in that digital world. And so it was kind of a fun concept. I got the opportunity to sort of develop it further into a series when I was helping launch a streaming platform that isn't around anymore. But we were kind of trying to develop better children's entertainment. And my wife and I decided to kind of spin off our own company, and we had the opportunity to continue development on the series. And we just were like wanting to do better better quality children's entertainment, because we felt like there was a lot of things that we were seeing in the entertainment our own children were watching that we didn't agree with in terms of the values. And so we did it as this sort of mini episode, 8 episode series, and we always kind of like believed in the concept, believed in the characters, believed in the cast that we had. And we got like tons of positive feedback from families about the series. And so we wanted to do more. It's just trying to do a series in this fashion in the streaming world can be kind of difficult. And so for us and our company, we were like, hey, we kind of saw an opportunity over the last couple of years with faith-based films and theaters having bigger success. And so we coupled that with what we also saw was happening in the marketplace this year in particular, because what I think is not, unless you're knee deep in this, I think what a lot of people don't realize is when the actors and writers striked back in 2023, a lot of productions got delayed. And so theaters kind of are in a tough spot this year with not having as much films hitting theaters as you might expect. And so we were like, hey, this could be a great opportunity. And so it was a little bit of like, man, we really want to do more Connor. And then also coupling it with where's the best opportunity to give something that families are looking for kind of in the marketplace. And we just thought that was theaters. So we were like, can we turn this into a movie? And we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Plus, also, I mean, like, it's one of those things, like, we're on a lot of Christian streaming platforms. And so, not every family has access to those. And so, but families have access to theaters. And so, this is something that we can, like, really share with the rest of America. They can go and see and enjoy Connor hopefully in a city coming to them
yeah.
soon.
And I will point out that given the fact that it started as a web series and we have the same cast and we do sort of continue the story in a way, you don't have to have seen the original Connor series in order to enjoy the movie. Everything is set up for you in the movie to enjoy the characters and know who they are and all that. And yet also, if you've seen the series, it actually is like a really fun
Yeah.
continuation of the series.
So Jay, as you're the producer of this film, what are some differences between, okay, we're going to be doing 10-minute, 12-minute episodes to now going and making a film? We're
Right.
not doing a 10-minute episode. We're doing a
No.
full-length film. Talk about some of the differences and challenges and how that's different for you.
Well, obviously, a lot of it, you cut your teeth on the shorts and doing some episodes like that. And so, I mean, we did those final 4 episodes. I think we did that in 8 days, right? And
I mean, I
so
think even less.
it might
Yeah.
have been
Yeah.
less. So, like, that's like a mini film shoot. But for film, I mean, obviously everything just gets bigger, right? You have more cameras, you have more camera operators, you have more PAs. It's just more of everything. So if you've figured out how to do it on the short side, you can just expand it and times it by 4 on the film side. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of logistics when it comes to just making sure you have everything that you need for that day, but also schedules. I think that was the biggest,
Mm.
I would say, issue because honestly, like we were so blessed with how people were willing to give us their summers, right? So we wanted to make sure we had our key casts that were available for all of those shooting days and just trying to make sure that worked. And luckily they had availability, but then also making sure we had the crew that we wanted to be available, and so having to work around those schedules. So that probably was the biggest thing. Like if you want a key actor or a key DP to be part of your film, they can't make it that weekend, but or you're short, but they can make it the next weekend. Oh, we'll just push and change
Yeah, you can
locations
kind
to
of
the next
rearrange a little
weekend.
bit better.
But
Yeah.
when it comes to like when it comes to that, the 3 weeks or 4 weeks of shooting, you really have to make sure everybody's willing to give you that chunk of time. So that probably, I would say, would be the biggest issue. Everything else is just what you've done times 4, you
Yeah.
know.
And I would add to that just real quick that we were also highly blessed by God because, Jay was incredibly gifted at organizing the shoot to I think the best degree you could, because that's so much of what this is organization. But then the Lord kind of coming behind that and sort of like things that probably should have like caused problems for us ended up not. A big thing is weather, if you're shooting outside.
Yeah.
And we had one day where we just got we had a scene just get rained out, and we had only had one chance to get one take of the scene, kind of in a long take. And it's the take that's in the film because
Yeah.
it worked. And
Yeah.
like it wasn't just sort of the Lord holding off the weather on other parts, but where it was where that happened, like the fact that like we got what we needed and it
Yeah.
works and it's in the film, and that's the Lord,
Yeah.
right?
And that's where like having the skill, like the right skilled people on your set,
Yeah.
the camera people, the sound people nailed it, did their job the first time, and our actors obviously getting their blocking and their lines because it was actually a complicated take.
There
I
was
don't
some
know.
blocking and
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know if we want to talk about it, but
Well,
like,
yeah, we don't have to go
okay.
too many details about
Yeah.
it.
No,
But
I get under the hood. I get under the hood. So
Oh
I'm a
yeah,
filmmaker too.
yeah.
So I
But
go
like
under the hood.
everybody nailed it and got it like
Yeah.
first time. And sure, maybe getting a safety take in another one where
But
there's
it was like cut and the rain.
yeah, yeah. Well,
It
kind
was,
of.
yeah, it
Somebody
was
came and
crazy.
talked to us.
It
But
was
then,
crazy,
but
yeah.
then the rain. And then we were at time because again, we wanted to be really respectful for how we didn't want to wear out our crew. And so we did 10-hour days.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to make sure that everybody had the time and the energy. We didn't take advantage of anybody, and we wanted to and so we came to time at that point. And so with the rain and the weather, and it didn't look like it was holding off, and so we called it
Yeah.
at a certain point.
What's the age group that you're marketing for, that you're shooting for here?
Yeah, well, we targeted the series is also the same way, but the film is really targeted at 8 to 12-year-olds because we felt like that was a really really underserved market in particular faith-based
Yeah.
entertainment. Because typically for us, and again, this is because we're parents, we have 4 kids, and we've been desperate for entertainment that aligns with our values. And so we just were like, man, we really want something that age group would really enjoy. But kind of the fun thing about the film, because we've test screened it in front of some kids and we've previewed it in front of some families, is kids younger than 8 enjoy it. Even as young as 4 and 5 have enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
And then kids older than 12 have enjoyed the movie. So we've had like some teens that have come back, 13, 14, 15, who are like, I actually really like that.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
parents like it too.
yeah,
I think it's just great because it's not just a family, a safe for the kids to watch. It's made for them to watch.
yeah,
Like they're going to enjoy it. Like there's gags in there and they're going to understand it. Like and then obviously parents will appreciate. I think we put a lot of fun things in
yeah,
there for the parents to really enjoy, but it's just going to be safe content that kids can enjoy and parents can enjoy. And I think that's kind of been a gap
yeah,
in
Okay.
the family
What
faith-based.
my generation would call tweeners. They don't call that anymore.
Yeah,
yeah,
the
That's not
tween.
politically
Yeah.
right,
correct to say that.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
discriminating on my age, right? I'm age discriminating. So I can't say tweener anymore.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right.
Talk,
I think it still works.
talk to me about your interest in that demographic. Let's unpack that a little bit. You said you were doing some children's ministry. Have you had, has that been your experience in the past? Have you done children's ministry in the past? And tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I actually kind of got my start in ministry, and I was even a middle school pastor for a while, and then was doing creative arts in the church, and ended up spending about 10 years on church staffs, kind of in a couple different areas here in the South. And I love teaching kids because the thing that we talk about, and I think we both have this perspective, is that we think we think God and we think the Bible and we think the gospel of Jesus Christ is actually fun and exciting, and we think that it's for kids, like kids can understand it. And when I say that, I think sometimes, like especially in church ministry, this is unfortunately the case I've seen sometimes, is we sort of like limit it to the sort of stories that that are entertaining for kids out of the Bible. And what I mean by that is, like, the bigger stories, David and Goliath, and
Noah.
Noah's Ark and all that. And it's sort of more stories based, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's really good. But I also kind of, especially with middle school kids, was really like trying to treat them like they have questions. They want to know. They want to go deep. They want to know, hey, is this really? They're kind of getting into that age range where they're really testing their faith. And I'm a firm believer that if the more you test the Bible, like it can't fail to your testing. And so I like challenging kids in that way. Test it. And so I think that played a lot into this series, and me wanting to go, and then eventually the movie is me wanting to go, hey, these tweeners, they can go to this level. We don't have to leave it at God loves you. We can go to some heavier things. And but kind of for the series, one of the fun things that we did, or I think it's fun that we did it, it's kind of hilarious that we did it, especially if we're targeting 8 to 12-year-olds, is even like there's an episode of the series that tells them what hermeneutics means, and it's like this really deep kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
A lot of adults don't know what
Yeah.
hermeneutics is, and so
But what we try to do is go, let's try to put it on their level. And I think that's what parents kind of appreciated about it, is it's like, it's not surface. We are trying to say, hey, there's deeper stuff here. But at the same time, acknowledging that they're kids and trying to, make it fun and everything. So we talk about that all the time when we serve together in children's ministries and stuff like that, is we think the Bible is really, really fun. And we want the
yeah,
kids to be like, oh, this is like exciting
yeah,
and fun, and this is a big world, and I should ask questions about it, and it's great.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, but then also, I mean, we also saw, I think the need. I mean, we have 4 kids.
yeah,
No, my oldest is 17, and all the way down to now 11. He had a birthday, and we're just like our little ones, like the agenda creep that's happening, and what I
mm,
thought was safe content. It was just beginning to get in there, and my older ones, like they can watch, they're gonna watch more than PBS Kids, and so it's like, well, ooh, what's out there? Ooh, that's in your content, and then we can't watch most movies as a family, and
yeah,
it's not that we're trying to like keep them in a bubble, but it's just like there's a lot of there's a lot of concepts that I want to introduce to my kids when I'm ready to introduce it to them, when I think they are ready for it.
Yeah.
And I don't need to all of a sudden find it in a kid's show and my kid is trying to ask these questions that he's not able to like really have a good foundation of understanding, and he's not ready to comprehend. And so I'm just so tired of having finding those kind of things in my kids' content. And I think a lot of parents, if they engaged with their kids' content,
Yeah.
would actually be surprised at what's in
Yeah.
there. I think a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
parents still think just because it's kids' content, it's
It should be
safe
safe.
and
Yeah.
it's the cartoon that we remember from 20 years ago,
Yeah.
because it's not. And there's agendas, and there's companies. The companies have a strategy for your children, and we are trying to put a stop to that. And we're trying to start a trend where, I mean, like, it's just us. And I mean, we've brought on a lot of great team players and people to come along and aside us and help get this to film or to distribution. But if we can do it, there are other filmmakers, there are other Christian
Yeah.
filmmakers, there are other storytellers out there that can do this too. And so it's like, if we can continue to forge a path ahead for other people to come alongside so that we can have more family content, we can have more maybe adult Christian family content, for Christians to enjoy, not like one or two times a year.
Yeah.
It can be once a month, you know? And so it's just, I'm excited, I'm a little tired, but there's like, again, I want people to say, oh, they did it. We can
Yeah.
maybe do this too. And
Because
that's,
she says that because and she already said this, we like watching movies together. We like
yeah,
watching shows together. That's what we want to do.
I think families really do enjoy
Yeah.
it.
You can get information as just, as we're talking about this, September 19th, it's going to be in theaters. You can go to .conner, CONNER.com, .conner.com. That's kind of fun. And find a theater near you and or maybe request one. So 9 to 12, when I was growing up, when I was between 9 and 12, I had access to certain things. And I didn't have access to certain things.
Mm.
And 9 and 12-year-olds now have access to things that blow my mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They have access to things that are evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this generation. Let's talk about these 9 to 12-year-olds, what they're exposed to, and how do we change how we share the gospel, how we minister to these children. How does that impact the way we care for these kids and share the gospel with them as a youth leader, as a youth, junior high minister? How do you minister to these kids now who are exposed to things that at 9 to 12, I didn't even know existed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, I'll speak as a filmmaker too, but obviously because of my ministry background, I'll probably talk more in that world, because I believe two things. One, I do believe that there's as much of ministry for the church to parents as there is to kids, and I think we need to be stronger as Christians and as church leaders in sharing with kids, like, hey, or sharing with parents, hey, you are discipling kids in your home. You can't expect to bring them, to a youth meeting once a week and that do the trick. Because I mean, just for us and our family, we've just said, no, we're not gonna, if we're accused of sheltering, that's fine, but we're not gonna give our kids the same kind of access freely to things. We're gonna have the guardrails in place, and we're gonna have conversations about these things, and we treat what we do as parents as the chief disciple makers in our home. And I think that has to also happen in the church with parents. At the same time, I think with youth, I feel like often, and this is culturally the case, it's not necessarily, I think, what every church is attempting to do, but there's so much of a coddling as well that happens with kids of that age. And I think there's sometimes this expectation, well, they can't really, I mean, this kind of plays into what I said about, starting the series in the first place. Well, they can't really understand it. They're still being developed. They're in this stage where, they can't. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that we can't call 9 to 12-year-olds, especially guys, because I lead, right now I'm leading a freshman guys small group at our church, but I've led middle school guys groups and stuff like that. And I go, man, we can call them to actually seek maturity in things. And because I think that's more that it's possible, that they're capable. And I think that's it too, is having a perspective that these kids are capable. A 10-year-old is actually capable of understanding the gospel deeply, and the gospel is powerful. And so not coddling them and letting them ask tough questions and being honest with them, I think is important. Now, I mean, you kind of mentioned this. It's like, there's this fire hose coming at children from media that is incredibly difficult to combat. And that's why I think what we're doing is so incredibly important. And Jay kind of alluded to this, and I think if more families, and I think more and more families are understanding this, it's like, look, I get that there's a lot of Disney shows that we all loved growing up, but they are coming for your children. And it really is who knew that I would be kind of echoing the parents of the 80s, with the Disney boycotts and stuff, but it's just like, it's not going to change. And so to some degree, we as parents need to consciously make those decisions to say, we're going to reject what the world is offering our children. And yes, it to some degree feels like a desert on the other side of that. But to echo what Jay said as well, what we're hoping to do is call other people who have ideas and who have talent and who can pull this kind of thing off to join us in doing it, and not join us in doing it and bringing more family entertainment and trying to get it to those families. What we're saying by that is not, oh, you become a part of our company and work for us. We want to share what we're doing and go, you go do it better than us, because we are so excited to watch what you're going to do. And so I think it's kind of all of those things combined. But really, if I put on my ministry hat and I talk about church in general, I just think understanding the moment, which Rick sounds like you understand the moment, right? Like they're coming for our kids. They've been coming for our kids. And for me,
Yeah.
the way that was the wake up call, as Jay mentioned, for us with this film is, and really our company in general, is to say, look, you can kind of target me all day long, and like, I might just let it roll off my back. The minute I kind of felt like, wait, there's a target on my kids, I was like, okay, I'm going to pull the sword out, and we're going to like charge into battle with what God's given us. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this is our testimony, but we hope it's the testimony for others as well. Is we just feel like we have to follow what the Lord is calling us to do, because it's the only thing that really is going to get us through this time that feels like, man, it's really dark and there's so much out there that's threatening our children. So anyway.
Before we jump off this topic, can you talk to me about, you mentioned guide rails. We put up guide rails. Talk to me about what guide rails look like. What's a guide rail? I mean, we've got porn portals we're handing our 10-year-olds in the shape of a cell phone, a smartphone. So talk to me about guide rails. What are guide rails?
I mean, don't give your kids. I'm a firm believer kids in middle school and younger should not have access to the cell phones. Or honestly, I know a lot of parents hand their kids tablets, so that they will wreck the tablet maybe when they're watching Bluey or whatever. But you're right, they are portals, and they're making it easier and easier for the kid to access. I mean, like when we did eventually give our kids cell phones,
our two oldest,
we had to lock down those parental controls. And you can't just be like, parental control.
Yeah.
There are so many back doors of how kids can access the internet through things like, I mean, there was like a dinosaur app or the ESPN app. Like they want the kids to have access to the internet. And so instead of saying, oh, what is this lovely, think of it as an innocuous tool that you can hand your child, think of it as a portal. And how am I going to lock down that portal so I only want my kid to do what I want him to do or her to do
Yeah.
on this phone? And I think also not just phones. I Our kids are not on social media.
Yep.
I really would have a parent really just question um, and think about it and talk about it with their kids and do some research before they start letting them have access to social
Yeah.
media and stuff. We're pretty locked down, but also our kids go to public school, so
We
you know,
recognize that they're going to see and hear, potentially see and hear
yeah,
things, and so we couple all of those specific controls with being honest and having
yeah,
conversations, and saying this is why, and this is what we're trying to do, and also recognizing that there's times where we do want them to have a little bit of freedom, but it's like I'm not going to coddle my kids, but I'm going to have a healthy respect for the human nature and what I understand from scripture, which is that, people are drawn to sin. And so we can't sit back and go, well, we love our kids and they're such good boys and they're innocent. It's like, no, if
yeah,
if 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 given the opportunity, the world's gonna come for them and stick their claws in them, and I have to help them navigate that. And then as they are able to navigate it, then release that, and be like, hey, now you're ready. I will mention, by the way, because the series and the movie both feature Dot very heavily, sort of, vlogging and online and using her phone and all this kind of stuff. But we intentionally provided elements within the movie to show that her family does the same thing, and she instructs her viewers throughout the series and throughout the movie, to be careful when they're on the internet, to not trust everything, to never accept messages from people you don't know. So a lot of those things that we're trying to help communicate are present in that, because, and not to an obnoxious degree, but more so to say, hey, like, we recognize this is the world, but at the same time, we need to be, and really what it is being wise and discerning, as you navigate it, and helping our kids understand how to do that as well. So
yeah,
Well, we're seeing the motivation behind the film, right? This is the drive. This is the
mhm.
why, right? Start with the why. Here's our why.
Yeah.
Our kids are being bombarded with there's an agenda to steal our kids
yeah,
Hmm.
and to do other terrible things with our kids. And that's a real agenda.
Hmm.
And they've gotten into Disney, they've gotten into, all of the media. And it's a thing. And
Yeah.
so having .CONNER Webtective, having other things that are going, hey, we're going to give some other options for 8 to 12 year olds that, isn't that. So that's great that here's the why. That's great that you're doing that. So
Yeah.
Jay, you're listed as the producer. Andrew, you're the writer and the director. Talk a little bit about, okay, husband and wife working together.
yeah.
Talk a
People
little
ask, yeah.
talk about those two roles. What does that mean? What's the difference between a director and a producer? What's actually different about that? And then what's that like working together with Honey?
I love that.
Yeah,
What I will say is, those roles, and I can explain the difference, but I do
yeah,
think we fit into those roles so well, that it sort of makes it relatively easy for us to work
oh
together,
yeah,
because I don't know if Jay would necessarily ever be like, I want to direct, and I would certainly never go, I want to produce. So.
yeah,
But the director, if you really think of it in these terms, you could think of it almost as, and I'm going to use your terms because I
sure,
love it. The producer is kind of like the party planner,
yes.
to a
I
degree.
am, yeah.
So she plans the party. I would say the director is kind of like the host of the party, maybe,
The
or
host,
like,
well, you had the vision. It's the vision of the party, right?
yeah.
Like, so you're like, yeah, I want to have, this is going to be a party for my 8-year-old, and it's going to be this theme, and we're going to, and we're going to invite, and I want to have all her friends come. So then the producer comes alongside and is like, all right, well, what kind of cake? What kind of food do you want? Where should we have this really fun party?
Yeah.
You're obviously the star. And then let's have all of your, you know, your friends, like, let's invite them, make sure they can come, coordinate all of those details. So,
So in a lot of ways, when you get to a film set, you know, the producer steps more into the background at that point because they've been the ones kind of assembling all the pieces together. And then the director comes in and really manages then the chaos on set of
yeah.
saying, okay, you know,
Yeah. What,
let's actually
what,
produce the thing,
yeah.
or
What
let's,
party games were you planning?
yeah,
What
like
kind
let's
of,
actually
yeah.
do it now. You know, we're
Yeah.
all here. What do we
Yeah.
do? And so, and I think that's why it's such a good partnership for us, is because she really enjoys planning parties.
No, I don't.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
funny thing. I do not.
But it was more, she's super detail
I am,
oriented,
yeah.
and I part of the way when I talk about what a director does, and of course there's the writing side of it, but writing and directing kind of can go hand in hand often, because essentially what I'm doing is I have already seen the movie in my head when by the time I get into onto set. And so I'm watching the monitor where we have the camera pointed at the actors and everything is in place and we rehearse and all that kind of stuff. And then when I call action, what I'm watching the monitor to see if it matches what I saw in my head. And so when it does, and it's more detailed than that, but essentially it's like that's what we're sort of aiming at. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish. And then it really, it's sort of funny enough, as much as the producer is like the person putting everything together and all the pieces together, she really can only do that if I'm good at communicating what I
Mhm.
saw in my head. And really, it goes beyond the producer too. I mean, the camera people and the actors. So it's all about communication. And I'm going to say this for the first time. Here's some wisdom that's about to be dropped on this
I'm gonna
podcast.
write this
Write it
down.
down. Uh, Communication is so vital between the producer and the director, and communication is incredibly vital in a marriage. And so I think that's where we just find probably a good working
Yeah.
relationship, is that we kind of just through our marriage have learned how to communicate well so that we have a strong marriage and can raise our family well. And that just kind of translated over then to working together on a film to go, hey, if I can communicate well, then, and you know, there's no, or, you know, sometimes
Yeah.
it's like, you know, I'm asking for things that she's like, look, we don't have the money for that, you know, which is fine. But
We'll see if we can make it work, but
yeah,
might
yeah,
not
yeah.
happen.
So I mean, you know, you have to make concessions and
Yeah.
stuff. And that's the other thing too that you do in a marriage, is you have to
Yeah.
make concessions often. And the same thing's true on film sets, is like I may go, hey, I really, really want this. And we may go, we don't have the time for that, you know? And so you have to come up with something different.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think also when we first started our company, I definitely, my first role, just knowing who you are, he's so bad at returning emails and he means well. It just never gets around to it. And so I was like, babe, people want their emails returned. And if you want this to happen, you have to email them. And so when we first started, it was just like I will be the email person. And so it was like, I will just be your administrative person. And I really enjoy finance. And so I'm doing the books as well. And then it's like, as we got more and more into it, it's like, oh, well, all of these roles, these administrative roles just fall more onto me. I mean, it really is just up to me to make it happen. And so it was just a very natural, like, transition.
yeah,
But yeah, like you said, any good marriage, I mean, yeah.
yeah. It's,
So this age group, it's difficult. The reason you don't see a lot of Christian entertainment for this age group is it's difficult to amortize.
Oh,
mhm.
The
yes.
cost is so high, and it's in and you know, if I make a film for women 50, 40 to 60, I can amortize that. There's a market out there that I can get to easily that will
Mhm.
go and pay money. They'll go in minivans and they'll go see the film. But for 9 to 12 year olds, 8 to 12 year olds, whatever, that's a little bit more difficult to amortize. How are you funding this? If you want to talk about it, how is this getting funded?
Yeah, well, and that's exactly it, right? Like it's what would you call it, a catch 22 kind
Yeah.
of, where it's like it's desperately needed, and it's the hardest thing to pull off. And so it makes it difficult to jump in. And so God had blessed us with our company to the degree that we had some working capital that we were going to be able to put towards something. And we basically were like, okay, we got to the point kind of running into that reality of that people were very hesitant to kind of jump into this. And yet we were so passionate about it. We were like, okay, we just got to go do it ourselves. And so we basically put together a coalition essentially of some of our own working capital, some private investment, some crowdfunding, and just kind of worked towards shooting the film. Because I was like, hey, if I can just shoot it, then I'm confident that then we can come back around on the other side and then raise the additional money, which we did from private investment, from
Yeah.
marketing and distribution. And so at the same time, it's like one of the reasons we went independent is this idea of like, how do you even reach those families? How do you even get those families to come to this movie? And it's definitely a risk in the sense of it's hard to actualize those families. At the same time, we saw, the success of a movie like King of Kings earlier this year, that showed us that there is this hunger for, hey, I can take my kids and it's going to be entertaining for them. And so like what we figured out to do is basically we've gotten so deep into the numbers on this thing of essentially saying the way to amortize it is to not overspend to get there, and keep our overhead incredibly thin, and leverage technology and leverage partnerships that sort of aren't necessarily financial and all this kind of thing, to get us to the degree that like we are in a place where if we can actualize the audience we believe we can with the marketing that we have and all that, it will work. And ultimately, and we could be proven wrong on this, I think. I just believe that families are hungry and they will show out, and that there's little glimpses here and there of that possibility. One being the King of Kings movie. Other things being movies that have done well, that like we are so deep in this and like read reviews and all this kind of stuff on family films and all that. And we kind of see like a lot of families wait for the reviews to come out on like even big Disney movies and go, okay, what's in it?
Yeah,
And then there's
yeah,
nothing in it, and then that movie all of a sudden is like the biggest animated movie ever,
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
But if it's
Yeah.
questionable, they hesitate, and we've seen that with things with like Elio and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so there's other films that are obviously targeted towards that demographic that don't hit, and I truly believe it is because there are more and more families that, and they may not even be necessarily Christian families, and at the same time, I think there's this growing recognition that the Christian values are the values that actually like they want for their kids, right? And so, so I actually believe that it's possible. I hope it's us. If it's not, I hope it's somebody else that figures out how to amortize that age group, because it's needed. And the other thing I will say for us and what we attempted to accomplish with our movie is we 100% went into it going, as much as we want there to be this strong Christian biblical worldview underneath it, if the kids aren't entertained and the parents aren't entertained, then they are going to be out, and
Yeah.
it's going to be harder to convince them. And so we just love the movie for what we did because we just think it's highly entertaining.
Yeah.
So
It is. It's a highly entertaining movie that a family can feel safe going to go
yeah,
see with their kids. There's not going to be anything scary or sketchy or anything that
they won't have
need
to
to be
cover their
worried
kids'
about.
eyes. They won't have to plug their ears, that kind of thing. And yet also, and I just even told Jay I like hesitate to call it a comedy because like that can be so like you could be like, oh, my movie's funny, and then like somebody will go
Yeah,
watch it and they'll be like, no, it wasn't. But people do say it's funny, so
we do laugh.
So
yeah,
I think that 8 to 12 is where it's going. I wouldn't go much younger. You do have, somebody hitting somebody, and, so you have some violence right up at the front part of it, which, I think you're putting it in that 8 to 12, but,
yeah.
for something that's safe, clean, and you can go to, were you going to say something, Jay?
I was gonna say, you have to know who the bad guys are. You need to know who the bad guys are. I mean, like, think of any, like, how any property starts. You know, Harry Potter's parents are violently killed. Nemo's mom, right? Right at the beginning. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, that's how so many of those films
I will
begin.
say though that nobody's parents die in this movie,
No,
so
that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's what Disney did. And
I
we're
know.
like, ooh, and here
Yeah.
we like
Yeah.
we make the bad guys do one bad guy thing, and it's like,
Right. Well, I mean, but I mean, that is a thing. I mean, my 5-year-old, that would probably not be a cool thing for him to see, you know, for
Yeah.
my 5-year-old,
Yeah.
my 5-year-old grandson. So, I don't think he'd respond well to that, but, cause
no,
then
I don't think
he's
he
going to
would.
turn around and start hitting his, I mean, I know him, I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But no, I think this is a great thing for that 8 to 12 for, you know, we won't, well, tweener, but we're not supposed to say tweener.
Yeah.
But you know,
Tweeter.
you can get info on .CONNER Webtective. You can go to .CONNER.com. It's going to be in theaters September 19th. And starting on September 19th, you can find a theater near you or even request one. And Jay and Andrew, what a blessing. Thank you for being on the show today. And, you know, hope things go great for the film.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate
thanks.
that.
Yeah.